This is usually when you ask questions and we answer them.
Bob has more questions.
Bob, he's killing it right now. I'm just trying to get, kind of get the Nolan Richardson golf tournament back in line.
I guess for both y'all, I know this was announced for the South Carolina game, but Arkansas has lost twice since then. They're obviously having a rough go of it, but it's a storied program like Kentucky. I mean, do you feel good that you guys are here, or do you feel like, wow, Arkansas is struggling? This is not the best timing.
I think it's great we're here. I mean, you got Kentucky and Arkansas. Arkansas went to the Sweet 16. The last 3 years, either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. Every team, there's roadblocks and detours. The Must Bus needs an oil change, but he's done that before. Last year, it needed an oil change, and they got to the Sweet 16. Mm-hmm. So, look, every game here is an event. They're not games; they're events. Kentucky comes in town; it's a bigger event. So, we're excited to be here. I'm excited. I've never seen a game. Well, in Arkansas, so I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. What about you?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I remember playing here, and it was
you
horrible.
Know your numbers?
It was a horrible place to play.
I
hated coming here. No, I don't. You're kidding. I also remember we lost here. We got upset here. I won't forget that. It was terrible. So it's a tough place to play. I mean, the Woo Pig Sooie, the crowd, the way the fans show up, how loud they get. When I think about an environment that's going to be loud and energetic, we just had one at LSU last night. I expect the Arkansas fans to bring the exact same thing. And so when it comes to showcasing a fan base's commitment to college basketball and to their team and to the program, we're here for that. And you're going to see it on TV no matter, I think, what happens with the game. And you can see Arkansas, it's not like they have no shot. They have pieces and they have talent and they have guys that can step up. Kentucky does too, so it's going to be a showcase either way.
Did we do the thing right the other day?
I think we.
No, we screwed it up.
No, Reese messed it up.
Okay, blame it on Reese. Yeah. You're going to learn. Never blame it on Reese. And number two is never take a shot at Billis unless it's going to break.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah.
Billis going to the break. He doesn't get another shot at you.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Jay was here for the Duke game. Obviously, Arkansas won that game with Tremont Mark being out. I don't know if you guys got to watch that game, what y'all were doing that night, but that was kind of Arkansas at its best, and lately it's kind of been at its worst. What do you think they got to do to get the Must Bus back?
I think the biggest thing is the hardest thing. As a coach, I'm just looking from a coach's perspective. Each and every game, you want to know what you're going to expect from certain guys, and it's hard to know what to expect from certain guys, and that's the biggest thing. So, the easiest way to get back and straighten things out, it starts with effort. I mean, it sounds simple. It starts with being the hardest playing, toughest team, taking the energy of this crowd and basically infusing it in terms of how you compete, that you're not going to take a play off, you're going to get to the next play, that you're going to stay together and do the hard things consistently. And if you do those things, that's going to give you a chance. And then they're going to need someone to step up. Is it Tremont Mark, or is he going to play? Is it going to be, which Ellis are you going to get? Which, Lenny you're going to get? Which Brazil you're going to get? I mean, there's so many variables in this team. I think that's the hardest thing for a coach. And you go to sleep at night and you don't know what you're getting. That's a really, really hard thing to be in. Like you say, well, I'm going to get this from this guy. I'm going to get this from this guy. I know this guy's going to defend, play start, and if we start to go south, he's going to bring our team together. Like, I think that's what they're dealing with. So if you're dealing with all those things, first and foremost, how hard will you compete and how long can you compete hard? And if you get punched in the face, can you get to the next play? That's to me the essence of tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I remember when I had Arkansas in the Bahamas earlier this year, and there were a lot of bright spots when it came to effort, diving on the floor, Brazil with some putback dunks, like those type of crowd energy infusing plays can, I think, pour into this team and help them pour into each other. Like getting really excited about some of those little things, the gritty, the toughness, like one guy sitting in a stance and everybody on the bench getting excited for him being in that stance. I think it's more a sense of pouring into each other for the little things that, like Coach said, just take a lot of effort. Then that other stuff starts to fall. Now everybody has more confidence. Everybody's more confident in their role. Everybody kind of builds each other up. There are times where sometimes I've watched Arkansas and it just felt empty. Maybe people didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. I don't know what your role is supposed to be, so I can't really help you and support you. I don't know what my role is, so I can't help get myself going either. But I think supporting each other and pouring in on some of those energy things, especially tomorrow. Like, just get hype for a guy that's sitting in a stance, or get hype for an offensive rebound, get hype about some of those little things, and let that start to get you in a rhythm as far as the togetherness piece goes.
Andrea, bouncing off that on the effort and energy type of plays, I mean, that's something that people have questioned about Arkansas recently, just the effort and energy. In your opinion, like this late into a season, how kind of alarming is that, and how does that get kind of restored whenever you're going through a stretch like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Obviously, things don't have to be perfect in March. I think a lot of it starts in practice. I haven't gotten to see Arkansas practice, but how hard you're practicing, how your effort level is in practice, how you hype each other up in practice, that type of stuff carries over into games. It's really hard to just turn it on. And so I think developing some of those habits, if you start now, there's definitely time before it gets to March. There's time before the SEC tournament comes into play where some of that stuff can become a habit, but it does need to start relatively quickly.
It starts in the locker room. I mean, as a coach, a player-led team is better than a coach-led team. It's to me, all that stuff starts in the locker. You're only as good as your locker room. So when your team is struggling, what voice is in your locker room? Now, if it's a voice that's going to bitch and moan and complain and point fingers, it's hard to get out of that funk. So, like, a leader has to emerge. And again, I don't know. I haven't been enough practices. I have talked to Muss a bunch, but to me, it starts within your locker room, because sometimes there's nothing a coach can say. Like, those dudes got to say, we're going to compete or we're not going to compete. Like, if you can't compete tomorrow, you got a problem. Like, if you don't play hard tomorrow, Kentucky, game day, national TV, all right? So when you get punched in the face, if you don't respond, all right, there's nothing a coach can say. That's either you have pride and competitive spirit or you don't. And so to me, this thing all starts, those guys in the locker room got to look each other in the eye, and they got to look in the mirror and say, like, here's the deal. It's on me. But who's going to take that lead in that locker room? Because you get the wrong guy leading that locker room, and you got a problem. You get someone to step up and say, hey, like, we're out there. This guy brought us to Sweet 16s and Elite 8s. All right? He knows, like, either listen, buy in, or get off the bus. And I don't mean the must bus. Like playing's a privilege. Being a part of this program is a privilege. If you don't buy in, sometimes there's addition by subtraction. That's just the old coach talking to me. Like, there's enough talent. They got to buy into each other.
Talking a little bit more about those past three.
Get a little fired up.
Yeah, I know. I felt that energy coming off of you.
Talking about those past three Sweet 16 runs and beyond, just what were some things in those seasons that you saw out of these Arkansas teams that were good qualities that they need to get back to?
Sharing the ball, defending, and buying into roles. I mean, when they flipped it last year, guys, like, don't show people what you can't do. Don't show people what maybe your workout guy tells you should be doing, or your grassroots coach tells you should be doing, or your parents tell you what you should be doing. Why show people what you can't do? Like, buy into what you do well. If everyone buys into, I'm going to show people what I can do well. I'm going to, because all these guys want to be pros, right? Well, and I'm sure Muss has told them, the NBA is a league of role players. There are some dudes, and then there's a whole bunch of guys making a lot of money that can sit in a corner, knock down a three, and defend. There's a whole bunch of guys that can do all the little things to play off the two great players. So I thought when those teams flipped it, you saw guys buy into each other, buy into their strengths, sharing the basketball, whether it's, it was, Black, the ball ended up in his hands. So, like, the roles were really starting to get defined a little bit better. Devo left the team. He came back. He was a different guy when he came back. 100%, just an absolutely different dude when he came back. So I think those are the things. And it goes back to what we said, starts with effort, but it also starts with embracing a role and giving up a little bit of yourself or the static around you that people think is yourself to win. And that's the hardest thing for not just here. Cal's got to deal with it in his group. Coaches across the country have to deal with it. There's so much static. It's the workout guy. It's the AU coach. It's the parents who have a vision of guys playing in the NBA. It's NIL. It's collectives. It's making sure your social media is up. Oh, by the way, you got school. I mean, there's so many things pulling at these. And they're not kids. these players right now that they lose track of the most important thing. Like, if we win, it's good for everyone. Like, winning's got to be the priority. So what can we do to help us win? Like, what's your priority? That's got to be their focal point. Or what do we have to do? What can I do to impact winning? And I think the team last year, that's what they bought into. They bought into, what do I have to do to impact winning? And that's what this team has to buy into.
This maybe leads into that, but it's 19 games in. Is there enough time for Arkansas to turn things around for both of y'all?
Go ahead. Al.
Yeah, I think there's enough time to turn things around. You got Kentucky coming in. You still have multiple games left in the regular season. You still can make a run in the SEC tournament, which always helps kind of boost your chances of getting into the big dance and making some waves there. So I wouldn't say it's too late.
SEC, you're going to have opportunities for quad one wins. I mean, you're going to have a ton of opportunities for quad one wins. You got one tomorrow. You beat Kentucky. You don't think that changes how guys walk into this practice facility every day? You don't think that changes how they look at each other? You don't think that changes, oh, man, if we do this, this, and this, we could be that same team that beat Duke. So, it starts, to me, tomorrow's game is a 4-minute game. That's what it is. They got to win the first 4 minutes, and then they got to go and compete the next 4 minutes. Tomorrow's game isn't a 40-minute game. It's a 4-minute game, plain and simple. Because if they get too far ahead of themselves, all right, then you lose focus. Like, what can I do in these 4 minutes? We got to defend, we got to rebound, we got to share the ball, we can't turn it over, we got to take good shot. Whatever Muth says are the core things that they have to do to be successful. 4 minutes, that's it. You can't just play off the emotion of the tip-off and say, all right, well, we played. No, all right? At the end of that 60-minute timeout, all right, what are we going to do in the next 4 minutes? And I would think that's probably a little bit of the way that Muss is going to approach the game.
Speaking of that, the last 2 games, Arkansas hadn't led at all. They trailed for 39-some and 39-some. I'm not smart enough to add that up, but they haven't led in either game. They haven't led in another game. They've been behind.
Why are you so negative?
No. just factual.
I had a guy named Mark Berman who was my beat writer at Virginia Tech. You guys could be relatives.
He must be a good-looking guy. But, I mean, they've been playing from behind almost. The A&M game was different, but the other games they've been playing from behind a lot. And then, I know the crowd's going to be good tomorrow, but they got to keep the crowd in the game. They got to keep belief. How important are those first 4 minutes to set the tone?
Yeah, I think it's huge. How you come out and set the tone with your teammates, with each other, with your fans. You let them know, hey, this is how we're going to play. And it can be little things like just sprinting up and down the floor, sprinting to your rotations. I think when Coach was talking about the effort and the things to get back on track, it's also just an element of trust. I'm going to defend on the ball how Coach tells me to, exactly how he tells me to, because I trust the guy behind me to be in his spot, to be in his rotation. If everybody trusts that everyone's going to do what they're supposed to do, then you can just do it as hard as you can. When you're wondering if the guy behind you or the guy beside you is going to do their job, now you're thinking too much, and now you're going too slow, and now you can't be effective on the floor because you're worried about what everybody else is doing. If you trust everybody around you and they all trust you, everybody can play hard. Everybody can do exactly what they're supposed to do. So that first 4 minutes in terms of effort, energy, and trusting the game plan and starting with that, that's what you have to commit to in the first 4 minutes.
First loose ball, there should be white jerseys on the floor. I mean, if I was talking about it, say that first time that thing's on the floor, all right, we better have bodies on the floor. All right, and because what happens if there's a loose ball and you see 3 white shirts dive on the floor tomorrow? What's this place in here going to sound like? People are going to lose their damn minds. And that's, that gets them engaged, so.
Yeah, Scott, what do y'all think about Kentucky? What makes them so good?
I know they're not very good when they don't defend the ball. So, I mean, like you say, what do you take the beat? You have some dudes that break them down off the dribble. I mean, Kentucky's talented as hell, and they're really good offensively when they share it and sprint the court and advance pass and make one more. But on the other end, I mean, Texas A&M backcourt scored 59. Georgia, the second half, they couldn't keep me out of the lane. I was pretty good. I mean, they got to guard the ball. I mean, Kentucky has, they're off to a great start. They're talented. Cal's Hall of Fame, I mean, all those things. But, they don't rebound defensive end great, and they don't guard the ball great. So they've got to get better. I mean, last 3 games, look, Wilmington wins because their guards break them down and get to the basket. Texas A&M, they didn't guard the ball the whole season. Now, they did a good job against Miami. They did a good job in other games, but they are really, really talented, almost like too talented in a way. And they are very unselfish when they're playing the right way. I'm sure he has their attention because they surely didn't play the right way against South Carolina, and South Carolina had something to do with it. But they, 7 assists and 8 turnovers, that ain't gonna cut it.
Their speed, when they do get those stops on defense and they get stops, their speed and how quickly they get up and down the floor it's unreal. Just their pace that they play with. Coach talked about the kick ahead, but even the kick ahead and then the quick decision whether you're going to drive, and then you get the drift, and then you get the pass, right? So it's those quick decisions. They're all so good at making quick decisions with the ball in their hands. So the pace is in the full court, but the pace is also in the half court. You can't miss a shot, hang your head. Kentucky's already scoring. Their pace is just elite. It's like all Coach Cal worked on was transition offense because it's so
Even if
good.
you score, you may get your ass back.
Yeah, it's their decision making, it's their athleticism, their skill, and they think fast on that end of the floor. If they thought as fast defensively as they thought offensively and just reacted and played that quickly on the defensive end, I mean that's the next step for Kentucky. But their offense and their pace, full court, half court, is next level.
You guys mentioned about how talented the Kentucky backcourt is. You have guys like Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepard, Antonio Reeves, who had 40 in this building last year. What do you guys think that the Arkansas backcourt, guys like Layden Blocker and Devo Davis are going to have to do down to a T in order to kind of keep them limited and kind of slow them down throughout the game?
I think the hardest thing is, you start the game, then 4 minutes in, you got to deal with Reed Shepard and Rob Dillingham. I mean, I really like Blocker. I don't think he backs down to anyone. I think set your defense. 2 things you better be able to do against Kentucky. You can't turn it over, and you can't take a bad shot. You take a bad shot, you turn it over, all right, and you got a problem. You got a problem. So, if you can set your defense, and that's what South Carolina did. South Carolina owned the tempo and rhythm of the game. That's part of the art of the upset. If you own the tempo and rhythm of the game, then all of a sudden they're playing on your terms. So setting your defense by not taking bad shots and not turning it over, not getting seduced by the pace, I think will be the key to defending that backcourt. I think that's going to be really, really important. And then make them take tough twos. Like, get them off that line and make them take tough twos.
Yeah, I think a bad shot might as well be a turnover against Kentucky. They're equal. They're the same thing. Also, if you get them in the half court, multiple efforts, like if Dillingham has the ball in his hands, you might cut him off when he's going to the right, but he's going to put it back in his left and go a second direction. So don't get so happy that you cut him off this way and not continue shuffling the other way and change directions. It's the multiple efforts on defense that it takes. Same thing, Reed Shepard passes, he makes a cut. Maybe you stop him on that cut, but then he's making another cut. So that multiple effort, and you can't relax. You might do something well, and then you relax, and then you're beat. So the multiple efforts and keeping that mentality is important.
The more physical the game is tomorrow, the better. That's their best chance. One thing Muss does have, he has some bodies. Making the game. South Carolina made that game really physical. Older team, though. South Carolina's, they start four seniors, 3 of them 50-year guys. Those are some grown-ass men. We've bored you enough, haven't we?
Anybody else?
Thank you. Appreciate it.